Stupid camera. Let's try that. So, hi everybody. It's been a few days since I've been putting out videos, and if you've noticed, first off, I just wanted to say that there are some updates I want to make on what's going on here with my half of Tabletop Baseball Plus. First off, if you haven't checked out tenaciousstrat.wordpress.com on the web, I'm going to try and put out some more regular blog posts, trying to give some, kind of like disseminate some information going forward as far as what projects are going on. My level of production of videos is you know, as you can see, it's kind of crept back a little bit. We had a little bit of a rough time earlier this week. We had to wish a pet well, and send her off, unfortunately. So that was kind of a tough thing that sort of took our attention for the first part of the week. So I hope you all would understand that. And then just, you know, things are just both busy, but also, you know, if any of you could imagine, and some of you have channels, others of you don't. I'm sure the ones that do, and even if you, the ones that do, and even the ones that don't, probably could imagine being into a game that you find is really difficult. It's really tough to decide how best to produce videos for it. I've kind of gotten into second season. If you do follow my blog posts, then you'll have seen some posts recently, the last 2-3 days, about so let's get into that. I've been playing second season. I started playing, well, no, I didn't start playing. I think I might have put a video out here on the channel which talked about, now, you know what, I was going to, and then I didn't. So let's start with game 3 that was going to happen of this Ninacious Football League. Chicago at Miami. I looked at Chicago's chart, and what I had started doing was I was going to just play it with the straight up depth chart. And so the top quarterback listed for each team I was just going to use, assuming, okay, well, it's going to be the best quarterback. You know, it's going to be like the top rated guy. So I got to Chicago, and the first one is Barkley, and the second one is Hoyer, and the third one is Cutler. And that's more or less ordered in the number of starts that they got in the season. The reason Matt Barkley got a bunch of starts is because Cutler and Hoyer both got hurt. Cutler and Hoyer were both considerably better than Matt Barkley, and so I started thinking about playing this game with Matt Barkley as sort of the first string, and I'm just like, that makes absolutely no sense. It's like this project is not going to work well. And so then I started going back and looking, and the Tennessee-Jacksonville one. I guess what I ended up deciding was that rather than just carry on and change my methods from, because I was only 2 games in, rather than change my methods from game 3 on and then leave 2 games out, I decided to go back to the beginning and start over. Then what happened was I got into this thing where I played a game. I had used sort of my own play calling. I think I'd already talked about this in maybe the second game, where I was calling the offensive plays. And so I got to the end of that second playing of Buffalo at Oakland. And first off, I just want to say this has nothing to do with the fact that Buffalo lost to Oakland in that first time I played the game. So that's one qualifier I want to make. But then I got to the end of that game, and Oakland won that one as well. But regardless of that, I looked at the box score, and so I was doing up my stats and everything, And I still have them here. And do I? Where is my sheet that I wrote them all down on? I guess I don't have the sheet, but Tyrod Taylor had like 45 attempts and maybe 290 yards passing. And knowing the Bills, first off, I know as a Bills fan, Tyrod Taylor, if he got a three, and it would have kept going, although I don't think he ended up reaching 300 yards because of the way that game ended, which it went to overtime, and I think there was either an interception or a fumble by the Bills, which was an easy field goal for Janikowski, and Oakland won that one. But, you know, knowing that a lot of the radio talk about Tyrod Taylor over the last couple of years has been, is he ever going to hit 300 yards? Is he ever going to hit 300 yards? And he almost hit it in the first game I played with him. And their run-to-pass ratio was, like, way off. And I decided, if I'm going to be playing these teams and trying to play them in a way that is, I mean, it's fictional, but I'm also trying to do my best to mirror what the statistics say as to how these teams played. And what's great about second season is that there are ratings on these team sheets which give you an idea of their sort of ratio to run to pass. And there is I can hold it up here. There's a play calling chart that Replay Games came up with. It's Chris Howell, I think is the guy's name who came up with it. That it looks very complicated, and it's probably not quite as complicated as it looks, but it really does a great job of dialing in for, so for instance, the Bills are considered sort of a neutral team, which basically is like a 50-50 run-pass mixture. Whereas Oakland is considered -2, which I think is probably maybe 54 or 55% pass, maybe even 56. And so I had to take the play calling out of my own hands. After playing that game, I just realized I'm not going to get a realistic result. So I played game 3 of Buffalo-Oakland in, well, 2 games in the course of like 3 days. And this is the one that's going to stick. This is the method I'm going to use from now on, and I'm still trying to sort out how I'm going to record games as I move on. I want to keep going with this project. I really love Beam. Again, it's not great for videos, and that's where I think I'm going to have to start maybe doing a couple videos a week of either discussing this, or maybe I'll just jump back to Strat for a game here and a game there. But maybe in between playing out games of this Nine-Nations Football League, because I really like the game. It's a cool simulation. It's a very intense simulation. There's a lot to check. There's a lot to, you know, but anyway, let me talk about the game. So the real first game of Buffalo at Oakland, the Raiders do end up winning. So the first game I played, it was like a way lopsided. I'm not even sure how exactly it got that lopsided, but let's just talk about this. Oakland wins 24-17. Oakland early on gets a field goal from Janikowski, goes up 3-0. Carpenter evens it up right as the first quarter ends. And then I believe, see, and I'll get to another issue a little later on. I want to cover the game here. Zach Brown for the Bills intercepted Derek Carr to start the second quarter and set the, so it was a 4-yard pass that was intercepted by Brown. He returned it all the way to the 3-yard line of the Raiders. And so McCoy punched it in on the first play after that to give the Bills a 10-3 lead with just over 14 minutes left in the second quarter. Then Oakland gets the ball back. The teams trade punts, and then Oakland, they get the ball at midfield, and a 4-play drive leads to, that was 3 passes from Carr mostly, but they It culminates with an 11-yard touchdown pass to Johnny Holton, and the point after makes it a 10-10 tie. That's the way the teams ended the half. Oakland got down into somewhat deep into Bills territory in the 2-minute drill, but a holding penalty followed by a sack took them from the Bills 28 all the way back to the Bills 47, and so they basically had to coffin corner that punt, and the Bills just need it for halftime. Then in the third quarter, and I don't have as much play-by-play information because this is another thing. That's what I want to talk about in a little bit, but let's just finish this out. Third quarter, Oakland does pick up a field goal, a 43-yarder by Janikowski to take the lead. But then going into the fourth quarter, the Bills sustain a nice drive, and McCoy punches in his second touchdown of the day, 2-yard run, and the Bills go ahead 17-13 with 12:20 left. Then from there, Oakland, I believe the teams traded a punt, and then you get down to 6:42, another field goal for Janikowski, and it looks like the Bills are just going to have to try and burn some clock. Well, they go for a pass, or no, they didn't pass. Hand off to McCoy around the 25-yard line. Hi, Spider Kid. Hand off to McCoy. He fumbles. Picked up by Ben Heaney, the middle linebacker for Oakland. He returns it for a touchdown, and then the 2-point conversion is completed by Jalen Richard to give Oakland a 24-17 lead. The Bills can't lead a final drive, and Oakland kneels it out for the victory. So Oakland 1-0, Buffalo 0-1, same records as before. But the statistics, Tyrod Taylor 18-31, 195 yards. That's much more in line with what we saw from Tyrod in real life. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Again, that's a very Tyrod-ish number. 1 sack. He did have 3 runs for 15 yards. McCoy 15 attempts, 69. Now in the second game, McCoy had a really nice game. He was up around 125 yards rushing, and I scuttled that game. So. But anyway, McCoy 2 touchdowns and that costly fumble that cost him the game. And so it was actually somewhat unbalanced, a little bit too much rushing for the Bills. It was 25 attempts on the ground as opposed to 18. Also kind of the same way with Oakland as well, but they also were playing with a lead towards the end, and there were three rushes by Carr that were just kneel downs. So that added the total. So it was, well, actually, I take that back. Let me preface that. So, because I only took completions, I didn't take attempts. So Taylor, 31 passing attempts to 25 rushes. So a little bit on the passing side, not too bad. They were also playing from behind late in the fourth quarter, which made them go pass heavy. Oakland. So Carr had 35 attempts passing and rushing 35, so pretty much 50-50 for them. But again, that's kind of like a nice balance, which is, I think, using the solo play calling chart does. The big receiver on the day was Mari Cooper for the Raiders. 5 receptions, 57 yards, nothing spectacular. Robert Woods had 55 yards on 5 receptions for the Bills. One injury, Justin Ellis is out for 5 games after this one. And I believe Corbin Bryant for the Bills. Marcel Darius is out because of and I also should have mentioned that in the Bills game was one of the big reasons why I decided I had to redo it, was because I used Darius in game 1 of that, and it's like going from him. Bryant is a step down. He's a 0 pass rate as opposed to 1 for Darius. So I just decided that with that and not really taking into account. So what am I doing differently? I'm also checking on play time percentages and kind of setting things up in a way. I'm back to using this kind of I'll tell you what, I'll do this. doesn't really help you guys. Back to using this, where I roll a d6 for most plays, and I come up with these, the eligible receivers. That way I try to spread them out so it's a pretty decent mix of, probably like a 1 out of 5 for a lot of guys. McCoy gets a lot of play time, so Bush in this game Reggie Bush got more of the, he was sort of the backup. Mike Gillislee did not get in this game. He'll get into more games later on. And so then I also have a spread option and a heavy set for, third and fourth and short, basically. So the other thing that I started doing was, I'll bring it down here as well. So this is something, a post that I made on the blog. So I've been using this. Unfortunately, these two guys don't come up as D20s. It doesn't have sort of that, how a lot of times when you see a D20 in a dice roller app, it's kind of looks like a pentagon shape. But we don't get that here. But so what I've done is, so the play calling, let's talk about the play calling solo chart since I have this out. You roll, for the offensive play, you roll 2 D6s, and they need to be color, you need to have, like in my case, I use yellow and blue. Yellow goes first every time. You don't do ascending order, you do actually an order. And so you also use based on, so like 1st and 10, you use this column. If it's 2nd and 12, you would come over here, and it gives you the play call. It also gives you some, when I was telling you about the ratings for like the Bills being no rating, and then Oakland is a +1, so everything would be +1. If I had hit like this, which I don't think I ever hit 46 here, but if I hit that, then this short pass would turn to an inside run for Buffalo. And then for the defensive coordinator, roll a D20. And again, it's got situations. It also has special situations toward the end of the game where if you're behind or ahead, you would go either heavy run or heavy pass. But, so what I do is I have this set up. So I have my 2 D6s for offense. I have my D20 for defense. This is my player roll. So this decides which, my pass distribution and my run distribution. And I want to change, it's minor changes, so I'm not too worried about it. And then this is the personnel set. So if I hit roll up here in the corner, it would be 33. I would look here if it's 1st and 10 for whoever. It's 33. It's an outside run. 3 for the defense is going to be safe against a safe defense. It would be player 5. So that's going to be the running back out of personnel group 4. So if I was, let's say this was Oakland, that would be Jalen Richard on this play. So, I mean, if this had been a pass and it was 20, then I would, because that indicates EB, it would go to my other wide receiver, Michael Crabtree, most of the time. So that's how I've been doing it. So I said in my post, I've been somewhat against technology in a lot of the playing, but what I've done is, this is a nice balance, I think. But, so Mr. Moley says, do I not miss the dice run? Yes and no. So my play, from the snap of the ball, I'm still rolling these. So I get all the way up to the snap, and then I roll these, and that's the dice rolling experience. Then I get that in. So I just hit the roll, I set up the play, and then I roll the dice, and I get a little bit of both, which is nice. It kind of saves me a little bit of time. It also, I feel like, is more effective as far as, let me tell you something. When you get 7 dice in your hand trying to stir that around, it's pretty sloppy. I don't feel like you get the same shake. I feel like if you just got 2 in here and you shake them up, you're really, I feel like you're mixing them up pretty well, as opposed to I would need 7 dice here. Don't patent it. Yeah, no. I'm sure someone else does it this way too. So I'm I'm in a business where idea generation is important, and I think most of us tend to think that it's tough coming up with new ideas. Like, there probably aren't too many left in the world. So any idea that I've come up with, it's probably been done before, and someone then probably talked themselves out of it at some point for a better idea. So anyway, so that's what I do. As you can see here, I mark up my sheets pretty heavily. So these are I use, oh, there you go, Mr. Mully, your patent attorney. Nice. Yeah, we have our share of those at my job. As you can see here, I just use dry erase marker with these plastic sheets to just, like, say McCoy is the first. It's kind of like #1 choice. This is mostly if they're injuries. So if McCoy got injured, based on how things were played in this game, Bush would probably get the bulk of the rest of the carries, which he is rated F, which is pretty. It's pretty tough when you get down to the end of the game and you're rolling on personnel packages and you get a guy like Bush. Or let's go over to the Raiders and let's see what was some of it I was getting. I definitely need to think through some more about the personnel stuff, because I mean, Johnny Holton, who is a wide receiver, has like an outside running rating, but he also has an inside, and I got rolled on inside a couple times for him, and I have to look and see what he actually, how many runs he had during the season, because I feel like that was a little unrealistic, but that's like small potatoes compared to certain other things. Someone was going to get that running most of the time. So, what else? Seemed like I was going to have an outrage or something that I was going to talk about, but maybe I will get. My sort of outrage. Al Wilson has come up with a lot of charts and score sheets that help. I mean, score sheets is what it is. But I'm having a tough time finding the right one, because it's just, he's come up with a number of them, but there's always something a little bit missing. So this last one, I had used so I was doing a combination for a while. I'll show you the score sheet I started this most recent game with. And I was using my markers to do the time, so I could get time of possession. And so you can see here, this is doing the play-by-play, and then I was using the straight-up second season official score chart to, the statistics chart. And that was fine and dandy. I forgot to mark down the other scores here. Where is the pen that I had? Is it down here? I lost a pen. It's here somewhere. So what I was doing here was putting pluses for field goals and a circle for touchdown and fill it in for extra point. I would leave it open for a missed extra point. And I guess I could probably put an X through it, and I should do that because we did have a converted 2-point conversion. Oh, there's my pen. So again, so you can see down here, I put a little note, timeouts. There's no place to really do that on this sheet. Also, the timekeeping. I decided to try and do what they suggest in the rule book for timekeeping and just use my colored markers to do that. Gets a little off, especially once you get down to the 2-minute offense, where it's really nice on Al's sheets that you have it down to the 5-second intervals to really simulate the 2-minute drill, and it doesn't do that on this sheet, so that's kind of tough. I like this sheet because it gives a lot of extra information down here. Like, you can write down your interceptions, your fumble return. Well, there's no place for fumble returns. Did I put it down here? I guess I just put it on the regular sheet. You can put your punts, field goal attempts. I didn't miss one for Carpenter. Fumbles Lost, punt return, kick return. But some of the other charts don't. So then the second half, I started using one of these. Is it under here maybe? No. It's here somewhere. Oh, it's under this. So that was the box score I came up with, and there's my charging cable. Fun. So Al has also come up with this, which kind of takes away the play-by-play. I'm not sure I need play-by-play, but it does come in handy to double check and verify all your stat keeping when you have what happened, so that way you know you aren't missing any passing attempts and whatnot. So anyway, I may try to design my own, but designing those score sheets takes time. Which means it's time that is spent not playing games, which is yeah, not terribly desirable. But so History Maker Golf, I'll get back to that one of these days. I think I'd like to go back and replay Tennessee and Jacksonville starting this afternoon. I'm going to keep mulling around in my head how best to cover these games with video, because you know, it's important to keep things on the channel. I don't want to take a lot of stuff away from you, but I also, you know, I also resign myself to the fact a lot of times that there are games that are not particularly conducive to playing on YouTube. I think the golf is a little bit that way. This is, well, I don't want to say a little bit. It's actually, when you're talking 4 hours to play out a game when you're narrating on the channel, you're not going to keep a lot of people's attention. Some people do, and I appreciate everybody who does. And I think with golf, I will continue to put the games out there. I just want to make sure that I'm getting on the road with second season. And I don't want to miss much to start here. I'm just trying to sort of get the feel for this game. I mean, I have a pretty good feel for it now, but there are little things that come up, and it just takes some time. So I don't want to overload people's you know, feeds, like the subscription. If you go under your tab in subscriptions, if you have your app, when I put out a tournament or one of these second season games, there's like 5 videos that are each an hour long, and I just think it's tough to get people that are interested in watching. I mean, some do, and again, I appreciate that, but I think it's I'd like to find the best way to provide information here on the channel that people enjoy, but also not overload it to where we don't get as many views and people don't get as much value from what's going on. That's just my guess. And I mean, I've talked about this many times. I don't want to be belaboring the point, but it's kind of the reason it's been a week or so since I put out. Oh, another thing I forgot to say, those other videos from the other games, I have made them private. They're still on YouTube, but they aren't going to count. So aside from the gameplay factor, again, I'm not even sure that, I mean, definitely given the way that I currently do things, I'm not sure there's much value in having them out there. I wouldn't want to confuse anybody to think that if, let's say, Tennessee wins, the second time I play Tennessee and Jacksonville, wouldn't want someone to think, well, why I thought Jacksonville won it. But and again, I haven't forgotten about the 2008 playoffs and Strat, but I'm also, I'll say this. Formula 1 is in full swing, and I'd love to watch more Formula 2 and GP3. They're underway. I'm not getting a chance to watch as many games of that, and I've seen some board games out there for Formula 1. Again, I'm not sure if it's Formula 1 racing. It can be hit or miss. Some races can be pretty like the leader, the guy who qualified first, never get, you know, because you pit once, but depending on how things go, I mean, you could lead the whole race without ever giving it up, because some of these tracks are not easy to overtake on. But we have that. Now that the Penguins lost in the Stanley Cup playoffs, I've been watching more of hockey. I couldn't handle watching Sidney Crosby and those guys, you know, like, you know, dance around the ice anymore. So it was kind of nice to, no offense to Pittsburgh fans, the 5 of you who pay attention to hockey outside of when the Penguins are in the playoffs. you know, no offense, but it's tough for me to sit there and watch a team dominate. So and it was nice to see. I thought Washington might have had a chance to blow it last night after Tampa got a second goal and pulled to within two, but they took care of business. So anyway, so yeah, Strat still on the docket at some point, and golf definitely still on the docket again. I might want to get this other game completed before I go and do that. So I have a birthday party to go to this afternoon and things like that. Had to coach soccer this morning. Team played well. I was glad to see that. So all right, I'm gonna sign off. It's been a half an hour here. Again, if you have questions or if you know, like if you're into playing these games, or if see, like second season, I know that for some, if someone has never seen the game played, that might be where having gameplay, the games I took down, would be helpful, is to see how the game progresses. It's such an excellent game. It's if you like football, I mean, it it does a pretty good job. It's a stat nerds love affair, really, but it does have a lot of checks and it takes some time to play. But yeah, if you have any questions about these games, you know, there are lots of other types of games that I wish I had my hands on. I don't, but I'm gonna just sign off here. Thanks. Have a great Saturday. Maybe I'll see you Sunday for something. If not, just enjoy your weekend. Happy Mother's Day to any of the female side who watch here. I don't know if we have a lot of females who chat videos, but whether you're a mother or whether you're just an important woman in somebody's life, we appreciate you all, and just enjoy your day tomorrow if I don't get a chance to see you. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you soon.